Hello everybody, this is Dr. Vishal Trivedi from Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering, IIT Guwahati. And what we were discussing about the topics from your biology course for the class 11 and 12 under the program IIT PAL. And in this series, we were discussing about the chapter Animal Kingdom. So within the animal kingdom, what we have discussed so far, we have discussed about the criteria through which the animals present in the animal kingdoms are being classified. And following that discussion, we have discussed about the different types of animals and how they are being classified. So in this discussion, what we have discussed so far, we have discussed about the level of organization. So we discussed about the cellular level of organizations and the symmetry. We are discussed about the mostly asymmetrical, and in that category, acylomate, we have discussed about the phylum Porifera. Similarly, when we gone to the level of organization as tissue, then we discuss about the radial symmetry, and then we discuss about the acylomate, and in that we have discussed about the coelenterata as well as the ctenophora. And then when we discuss about the level of organization as the organ or the organ system, we discuss about the bilateral symmetry, and we discuss about the acylomates like the platyhelminthes or the pseudocylomates as the aschelminthes. And if you recall, in the previous lecture also we discussed about, we have taken the animals which are belonging to the organ or the organ system, bilateral symmetry, and as well as the true coelomates. And in that discussion, we have discussed about the phylum Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, and Hemichordata. While we were discussing about all these organisms which are belonging to the coelomates or which are belonging to having a true coeloms, we emphasize the fact that all these animals are having a very good digestive system, and they were actually having the similar various properties which are characteristic to their own phylum. And that's how we discuss about the Annelida. We have taken an example of earthworm. We discuss about the several various systems, like we discuss about their digestive system, circulatory system, and nervous system. Similarly, in the arthropoda also we discussed about the how the arthropodas are diversified and how they are being acclimatized to very extreme situations, and how the different types of system what is present in the arthropoda is actually helping them. Whether it is a discussion about the excretory system or respiratory system or digestive system or the circulatory system. So arthropoda is having an open circulatory system, whereas Annelida is having a closed circulatory systems. And then following discussion, we have also discussed about the mollusca and echinodermata. So until this, we were talking about only the invertebrates, and then afterwards we discuss about the hemichordata, which are actually being the half chordata, for example. So in this we have discussed how the hemichordatas are, or the animals which are belonging to hemichordatas are been classified as like, because they contains the nerve cords or the notochords, and they are not having a notochord in a very extended period, so that's why they are being classified into a separate group as called as a hemichordata. And following that, in today's lecture we are going to discuss about the chordata. Now, once we talk about the phylum Chordata, we have to first discuss about their general properties. Just like as when we were discussing about the animals, we discuss about what are the organism could be considered as an animal. Similarly, we will discuss about the phylum Chordata. So these animals shows the presence of cartilaginous notochord at least in a early embryonic stage. So this is a very important character of any animal belonging to the phylum Chordata, which means they should have a cartilaginous notochord in any part of their life cycle, whether it will be in the embryonic life cycle or in the adult stages. Then they should also have a gill slit in the pharyngeal region, which means they should also have the gills so that they will be able to breathe. Then there should be a hollow dorsal nerve cords running throughout the body length, so that so they also require a very developed nervous system, and they should have a dorsal nerve cords. Then the animal which have a notochord but do not have a vertebral column are called as the invertebrate chordates. So this is intermediate animals which are not belonging to the chordata, or they are not belonging to the invertebrata. So these are the animals which have a notochord but they do not have a vertical column. So that's why they are called as the invertebrate chordates. And these invertebrate chordates are the link between the non-chordata and the vertebrata. So before going in detail about the phylum Chordata and the classification of the different animals within the phylum Chordata, let's discuss and see what are the different characteristics of a chordata, the animals which are belonging to a phylum Chordata versus the animals which are belonging to the phylum non-chordata. So the chordata, so the comparison of the chordata and the non-chordata. In the chordata, you have a notochord present, so that is a very essential and the requirement of any animals belonging to the phylum chordata. Whereas in the non-chordata, you have the notochord absent. So then you have the central nervous system dorsal, hollow and single, whereas in the case of the non-chordata, the central nervous system is ventral, solid and the double. So one question comes, what is mean by the dorsal? So you can imagine that if you have an object, right? So suppose this is a human body, right? So this is the head and this is the legs, right? And you can imagine that this guy is sleeping right now. So this side is actually the chest, and this side is back actually. Okay, so dorsal means the dorsal means the back side, right, and the ventral means in the front side. Okay, so for example, so in the case of the chordata, the central nervous system is present on the back side of the animal, like on the back, right? And whereas in the case of the non-chordata, the central nervous system is present onto the front side of the animal. So it's just the positioning of the nervous system. So what is the advantage? This dorsal nervous system is actually going to be covered with the fleshy material, or it is going to be protected from the muscles, whereas the ventral nervous system is going to be very closer to the front of the animal. Then the chordata also have the gills, which are pharynx. Within the pharynx area, you have a gill slit, whereas the gill slits are completely absent. The heart is ventral. So, for example, heart is going to be present on this side rather than on the back side. Whereas in the case of non-chordata, the heart is going to be dorsal side in at all if it is present in the any of the animals. Although in the non-chordata, mostly the functional real heart is not present. It is actually a pseudo heart what is present in the cockroaches or Annelida or mollusca. So these are the muscles actually which are working as a pumping stations. Then in the backside you have a tail is present, which means that at the end of the anus you are going to have a tail, whereas in the case of non-chordata the tail is obviously present. So the chordata is a very big phylum, and where you have a very diversified animal, and that's why the phylum chordata is further divided into the subphylum or divisions, subphylums and the classes also. So what you see here is that the phylum chordata is going to be divided into the three subphylums, the Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. In some cases, the Urochordata and Cephalochordata are also being called as the Protochordata, because these are the primitive chordates which are having a notochord, but they are not having a the notochord throughout their lives. So we'll start the discussion about first the subphylum Urochordata, and then we'll discuss about the subphylum Cephalochordata, and at the end we are also going to discuss about the Vertebrata, because within the Vertebrata you have the different type of classes depending on the some of more additional characteristics. So let's discuss about the Urochordata. So subphylum Urochordata. Subphylum Urochordata are the animals. These animals are also called as the tunicates. Um, the body is covered by covering called as test, which is made up of cellulose called tunicine. So this is the the tunicates, where the body is covered with a cellulose called tunicine. Notochord is present only in the tail of the larva, and it is lost during the metamorphosis. So the notochord is present only in the larval stage, but it is also being lost into the metamorphosis during the metamorphosis, which means the adults are not going to have the notochords. So adults will not have the notochords. These are the exclusively marine animals, so they are not being present on the terrestrial animals. They are not present on the land. Then the pharynx has many gill slits, which are being used for respiration within the like water. Then the examples are the Herdmania. So this is the Herdmania, Salpa, and Doliolum. So you see here is a typical photo of the one of the classical example from the Eurochordata, and what you see here is the mouth. So this is the mouth of the animal. Then it is being present and be open into the Elementary canal, where you have, and then this area is pharynx, where you have the numerous slits, and in the slits you are going to have the gills, and the Elementary canal is closing and opening into a terminal portion, which is called as the anus. And then you have the somebody all the parts of the digestive system, like the stomach, esophagus, and intestines, where the digestion will take place. And this is the the exterior portion of the animals. Now, once we discuss about the Urochordata, let's discuss about the subphylum Cephalochordata. So the subphylum Cephalochordata, these animals are called as the lancelets. They are small fish-like animals that are no longer be more than the 5 centimeter in length. So these are the very tiny animals of 5 centimeter in length. They live partly buried in a soft marine soil. So they are already been present at the bottom of of the ocean, and they are always been buried within the soil. Notochord is present throughout the life and extends in length. So and they show the chordata characters such as the presence of pharyngeal gill slits, tails, and a dorsal nerve cord. The examples are the branchiostoma or the lancelet. So this is a branchiostoma, what you see here. So what you see here is the gill slits. What you see here is a digestive system where you have the intestine, and then the intestine is having an opening at the corner, and this is called anus. Then you have the ventral fins, you have the tail at the end, then you have a caudal fin, you have a dorsal fin. So all this actually animals which are belonging to this subphylum is having a lot of characteristics which are very close to the fishes. Then you have a nerve cords which actually runs from the front of the body to the last of the body. Then you have the notochord, which actually is running parallel to the nerve cord, and that actually is providing a support to the nerve cord. And then you have the oral tentacles, which is going to be a sensory organs. With this, we have discussed about the subphylum Urochordata, and we discussed about the subphylum Cephalochordata, and let's now move on to the subphylum Vertebrata. So subphylum Vertebrata is the very diversified, and it is being present as a subphylum Vertebrata, and it is further divided into the two divisions. These two divisions are based on whether the animals are having a jaw or they don't have the jaw. So depending on that, they are being divided into the two subdivisions, like Agnatha or the Gnathostomata. So in Agnatha, it does not contain the jaw, whereas these animals like the Gnathostomata is actually containing the jaw. And the animals which are belonging to the Agnatha are further divided into the class like Cleistosoma. So these are, and it is only divided into one class, whereas the animals which are belonging to the Gnathostomata are being further divided into the superclass like the Pisces, which actually contains the fins, So for the movement, whereas or the tetrapoda, so these are the superclass which actually contains the limbs for walking. Within the species, you have the two classes, the chondrocytes and the osteocytes. Means these are the cartilaginous fishes, and these are the bony fishes. The notochord is replaced by, so in the vertebrata, the notochord is replaced by a cartilaginous or the bony vertebral column in the adult. Thus, all the vertebrates are the chordata, but not all the chordates are vertebrata, which means all the chordates, all the vertebratas are belonging to the the phylum chordata, but not all the animals belonging to the chordata are vertebrata, because not all the animals which are be a part of the phylum chordata are having a vertebral columns, whether the vertebrae are made up of cartilage or the bone. Beside the basic chorda characters, the vertebrates have a ventral muscular heart with 2, 3 or 4 chambers. So in the different types of animals, you may have the heart which is 2 chambered, 3 chambered or 4 chambers. Then they have a well developed kidney for excretion, and then they have like excretion and the osmoregulations, and then they have the paired appendages which may be in the form of fin or the limb, so that they will use for the locomotions. And as I think as we discussed, the vertebrata is initially being divided into the two divisions. The division 1 is called as agnatha. The division 2 is called as the gnathostomata. So let's discuss about the division agnatha, and we'll discuss about the class Cleistostomata. So the subphylum vertebrata is notochord is replaced by the vertical column, and the subphylum vertebrata is divided into the two divisions. The division 1 is called as agnatha. It includes the most primitive vertebrates without the jaw, and it has one class, that is the Cleistostomata. Whereas in the division Gnathostomata, it includes the vertebrata with the jaw, and it has several classes which are grouped into two superclasses. So superclasses species, these animals bear the fin for the swimming, whereas the superclass Tetrapoda, these animals have the four limbs for the locomotions. Now let's discuss about the division Agantha. So division Agantha includes the most primitive vertebrates without the jaws, and they have a single class, that is the Cleistostomata. So the Cleistostomatas are jawless and eel-like animals. So these are the eel-like animals, and the skin is soft, smooth, containing unicellular mucus glands, but no scale. So compared to the fishes, they don't have a scale. Like, so they are, the soft skin is soft and smooth, and it contains the unicellular mucus glands, but they don't contain the scales. The median fins are present, but the paired fins are absent. They are ectoparasite, which have the sucking and circular motion without the jaw. So they are mostly being the ectoparasites. So they are having the sucking and circular method without the jaw. So you can see they have a circular mouth, which actually does not have the jaw, and it actually contains the way in which the, I think when we were discussing about the Taenia solium, right, they were having also the heads which are actually allowing them to, stick to the alimentary canal. Similarly, they also have the spines and that kind of situation, so that they will be able to stick to the host. And see, you can see here, right, the animal is attached to the another animal, and that's how they are sucking the nutrition. So they have a very well developed mouth, so that it can be able to suck the nutritions. The endoskeleton is cartilaginous, so they don't have the bony bones, right? And digestive system lacks the stomach. So if you remember, in the Taenia solium also, they don't have a well developed digestive system. Similarly, here also the digestive system does not contain the stomach, so because they don't require a very well developed digestive system. And the intestine is present with a fold called as the typhlosole, and the respiration occurs by the 5 to 16 pairs of the gill slits. So this is the gill slits what is present in the animal. Like, you have the 5 to 16 pairs of gill slits which are being responsible for respirations. The heart is two chambered. which means the heart is going to have the two chamber. One is ventricle auricle, and the other one is ventricles. The gonad is single and large without the gonoducts, so they don't have the ducts for connecting the gonads, so that the gonads are directly going to release the the sperm or the ovum. The fertilization is external, so they are actually going to throw the sperms or the ovum into the water, and that's how the fertilization is going to happen outside. The classical example is petromyzon or the lamprey and the hagfish. What you see here is the heart, which is connected to the blood vessels and the all the other kinds of organs. They have a dorsal fin, and they have the caudal fin, and they also going to have the terminal end. They are going to have the anus. So in the caudal fin is actually having a tail also. So they are actually going to have a tail as well. So this is the photo of the petromyzon or the lamprey, and so apart from that, they also have the two chamber heart and the gallbladder for all kind of discussion, and then they also have the liver, intestine, and all of the kinds of organs. Then they have the suffering glands, the ear vesicles. Then they have all this oral hood and nasopharyngeal ducts and eye spots. Now let's come back to the vertebrata. So we discussed about the division 1 Agantha, and now we'll go to the Stomatostrata. So in this we have two superclasses. In the superclass 1 is called the Pisces, the superclass 2 is called the Tetrapoda. So the superclass species are actually the fishes. In the fishes also you can have the two different types of fishes. Either it could be a bony fish or the cartilaginous fishes. So these are the aquatic animals. These are exclusively are the aquatic animals. They are the poikilothermic or the cold-blooded animal, which means the body temperature changes with the surrounding temperature. So they cannot maintain their body temperature. So because of that, they supposed to be the place. So they're supposed to change the positions and the locations within the into the water, so that they will be able to withstand the change in temperatures. And suppose so what is mean by the cold-blooded animal is that if the external temperature is 40, then their body temperature is going to be 40. So there will be no way of the thermal regulation, which means, like for example, in the human being, the temperature is the 37 degrees Celsius. So irrespective of whether the temperature is minus 20 or the temperature is the plus 46, the temperature is going to be remain as the 37 degrees Celsius, because there is a way of there are different several mechanisms through which the humans are being able to maintain the body temperature as 37 degrees Celsius, because they have the thermal regulatory mechanism. So if it is a minus 20, which means it is going to be cold, then they are actually going to burn the fat, and that's how it is actually going to maintain the temperature. If it is a high temperature like the 46 degrees Celsius, like what is the temperature in the May or June, then it is actually going to secrete the sweat, right? So it is going to create a sweat, and that sweat is actually going to give them a cooliness, and that's how it is actually going to maintain the temperature at 37 degrees Celsius. But these animals, like the fishes, are the cold-blooded animals, so they don't be able to maintain the body temperature, and that's how the body temperature will change as per the surrounding temperatures. They feed on the dendrious material, which means the dead materials, the plants, algae, mollusk, and the other aquatic animals. So depending on the size of the fish, they can have the different types of material. So they can actually be able to clean the ocean also simply by eating all the dead and the dead materials, like whether it is a dead body or whether it is a the plants or other kinds of the thrown away material. Then they can also feed on to the algae, mollusk, and the other aquatic animals. Locomotion is by the body scales and the fins. So they have a fin, right? You might have seen the fishes, like they have a fins. So because of the fin and the scale also, right? So because of these two, they can be able to create the current, and because of the current, they can be able to swim into the water. The caudal fin helps in steering. So the caudal fin, which is present at at the end, is actually working as a guiding force. And you might have seen like these kind of caudal fins are also present in some of the boats, right? That boat is using this, and if you put on this side, the boat will go on this side. If you put it on this side, the boat is going on to this side. So this, depending on the position of the caudal fin, the fish can actually go into the left or right directions. The exoskeleton is made up of the dermal scales, and the endoskeleton is either bony or the cartilaginous, which means it could be a bony fish or the cartilaginous fish. The body is streamlined and boat shaped, right? And the mouth is terminal or the ventral in positions. The respiration is by the gills. So gills are present in the gill slits, present in the within the pharyngeals. The heart is two-chambered and it shows a single circulation, which is the closed. So you can see here the heart is two-chambered. In the human, we have the four-chamber heart, right? You have the four-chamber heart. Whereas in the fishes, you have the two-chambered heart, where you have the one chamber which is behaving as a ventricle, the other chamber is behaving as a atrium or the atrium. And these chambers, so it's exactly the same. It is like the ventricles, the blood is being pumped into the gills so that it is going to be purified, and then that purified water, the purified blood will enter into the circulations, and then from the circulation the veins are actually going to collect the dirty bloods, and that will go into the atrium. And this is a two chamber heart, so one chamber will work towards the lungs, whereas the other chamber is going to collect, and that's why it is called as the single circulation, so which it does not have the double circulations, and it is closed, right? So this is actually runs in within the closed chamber, closed blood vessels, and that's why this is a closed system. The blood is red in color due to the red blood cells or the hemoglobin what is present within the red blood cells. The species have a very well developed brain with a large olfactory lobes. The species have a very well developed nervous system which actually contains the olfactory lobes. The sexes are separate, which means they are going to have the male fishes as well as the female fishes. The most fishes are the oviparous and some are also the viviparous. So depending, these are the general characteristics of the superclass species, but based on their body structures and based on the whether the fish is made up of the cartilage or the bone, the fishes are the superclass fish is further divided into the two classes, and those are the cartilaginous fishes or the bony fishes. So they are going to have the two classes, either it is the chondrocytes or the osteocytes. So these are the cartilaginous fishes, and these are the bony fishes. So these are the the cartilaginous fishes. So the exoskeleton is made up of a cartilage. They are mainly marine, so they are not present in the fresh water. They are only present in the ocean. The exoskeleton is made up of tiny placoid scales. So what you see here is scales what is present on these fishes, and what you see here is the scales are arranged like this. And if you see very closely, the scales are being present as a placoid, right? The plate kind of situation, and that's why these fins are also called as the placoid. The mouth is ventral, and there are two dorsal fins. So there you have the two dorsal fins. You have the first dorsal fin, and you have the second dorsal fins. The male copulatory organ like the claspers are present. So males are having the male copulatory organ, which is called as the clasper. So that is being used for during the sex. The caudal fin is heteroserial, which means it is going to be asymmetrical. So what you see here is the one of the caudal fin is bigger, the other one is smaller. So this kind of caudal fins are called as the asymmetrical or heteroserial circle. There are 5 to 7 pairs of gill slits which are present at the pharyngeal site. So you have the 5 to 7 gill slits, and these gill slits are allowed or will be used for the respiration purposes. Then you have the operculum. Operculum is absent in these cartilaginous fishes. Then fertilization is internal, and these fishes are the viviparous. So the fertilization is going to occur inside the fish body, and then they are actually going to give the so they are going to be viviparous. The classical examples are the shark, what you see here, the scoliodon, the electrical ray, stingray, hammerhead shark, and the sawfish. So these are the fishes what you see here, right? The different fishes. And what you see here is description of the digestive system. So it has a well developed digestive system which actually contains the stomach, kidney, and you have the dorsal fins. So just below the dorsal fin you are going to have the all these kind of organs. And then they have the heart, which is actually a two-chambered heart, and that is being used to pump the blood into the different parts of the body. And now we'll discuss about the classed osteocytes. So osteocyte, the exoskeleton is made up of the bones. They are found in fresh water and the marine water. So they are being present in both the places, either the fresh water or the marine water. The exoskeleton is made up of cycloid or the ctenoid scales. So this is what is called as the cycloid scales. So you see the arrangement. The arrangement is smooth at the back, and that is being called as the cycloid scales, whereas in the ctenoid scales you are going to have the spiny margins, and that's how they are being called as the ctenoid scales. The mouth is terminally in positions. The single dorsal fin is present, so you have a single dorsal fin, whether it is being divided into two, but they are also being considered as the single dorsal fins. The male copulatory organ, the clasper, is absent in this particular type of fishes. The caudal fin is homoserial, which means the caudal fin is actually going to have the symmetrical, which means on this side and this side it is actually going to be identical. There are 4 pairs of gill slits are being present and are prevent covered by an operculum. So there are actually going to have the operculum, which is like a kind of a covering, and below this you are going to have the 4 pairs of gill slits. The fertilization is external, and these fishes are oviparous, which means they are actually going to throw the sperm as well as the ovum into the water, and then they are actually going to be fertilized outside, and that's why they are actually all oviparous. There are many examples, so there's no, we cannot set the example for all the fishes. So these are Bombay ducks, pomfret, catla, seahorse. So these are the fishes. What you see here is this is like mandarin fish. This is the seahorse. Then this is the the angler fish. Then you see here all kind of fishes what we are showing here. And then this is a lionfish, and this is the climbing perch, right? So all these fishes what you see here are the mostly fishes what you consume for your, these are the edible fishes, and because these are the freshwater fishes. And these are the fishes what you also be put in your aquarium for the decoration purposes. So these are the actually part of these fishes are only the part of the for the ornamental purposes as well. So so with this we discuss about partially about the subphylum Vertebrata. What we discuss about the divisions like Arantha or the Glattostomata. So within this we discuss about the species which actually contains bear the fins, and that is they use for the swimming purposes. So we discuss about the cartilaginous fishes, and we discuss about the bony fishes. And now in our subsequent lecture, we are actually going to discuss about the tetrapoda, or the animals which are actually going to bear the limbs. And within that, we are going to discuss about the class Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and then we'll discuss about the mammals, in which the humans are present, right? So humans are the mammals, right? So with this, I would like to conclude my lecture here. In the subsequent lecture, we'll discuss about the superclass tetrapoda, and we'll discuss about all the animals which are having the limbs for their locomotions. So with this, I would like to conclude my lecture here. Thank you.